Chapter 23 of The Silkstocking Murders by Anthony Berkeley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The trap is set. When Gerald Newsome, obedient to discipline but not unresentful, arrived at the Albany that evening, he found a surprisingly cheerful trio awaiting him. Kensington, apparently, had vanished from the map. Certainly it seemed that neither Roger, Anne, nor Miss Carruthers had the slightest intention of going to such a foolish place. In the Albany they were going to dine, and the Albany had been commanded to do its best for them. "I must apologize for talking to you like a sergeant major, Jerry," Roger said to his bewildered guest, whom he took the opportunity of waylaying in the hall. "But I could see that Plato was thirsting for your blood, and I had to get you out of the way before he began drawing it." "My blood? What on earth for?" "Because he holds very strong opinions about you, my poor Jerry. He's quite convinced that you're the villain of this piece, and I knew it wasn't the least use trying to shake his convictions. I had to humor him by pretending to agree with him. At present, we're both gloating over your impending arrest tomorrow." "Good Lord!" "Well, really one can't blame him," Roger pointed out. "In addition to all the other evidence against you, we're now faced with the fact, to be explained away somehow, that you are really the only person who could have attacked Anne. He thinks you jumped out of your little cubbyhole, complete with whiskers and gold-rimmed spectacles, and simply fell on her." "Damn the fellow," said the indignant suspect. "No, as I said, one can't blame him, but you're safe from him here, I fancy, though he did mention that he was itching to get his fingers round your throat. Now, that's enough shop till after dinner. Anne's got to recover completely during the evening, and I want to take her mind off this business completely. I've unhooked the telephone, and we're all under orders to talk of nothing but frivolities till further notice. Now come along and have some of your cocktails." "Anne? Is she here?" "She is, and so is my excellent friend, Miss Carruthers." "Great Scott! Then we're not going to Kensington after all?" "Where is Kensington?" queried Roger blandly. And the result was a very cheerful little dinner party, and so far as anyone could see, the complete recovery of Anne. One thing Newsome was surprised to learn, and that was that both the girls were going to spend the night under their host's bachelor roof. "I tried to get rooms at the Piccadilly Palace, you see," Roger explained lightly, "but the place was full up, and if it's safety that's wanted, what could be safer than the Albany? Why, the place is a veritable fortress at night." "Shop," said Anne, and Roger bowed his head. But when the two girls had gone into the sitting room and Roger and Newsome were left alone, Roger dropped the bantering air he had worn all the evening and became very serious indeed. "This is a perfectly damnable business, Jerry," he said, "and I simply don't know what to do about it. We've got to get that man under lock and key somehow, and pretty quickly, too. Anne's life isn't worth a halfpenny if we don't, I'm convinced." "I say," Newsome gasped, "is it really as bad as that?" "Well, I may be exaggerating, of course, but I don't think so. And then there's your arrest tomorrow. That's bound to stop police activities for a time, till they do find out that you're the wrong man. And you haven't any idea at all who this damned man is who disguises himself as a solicitor?" "Well, I don't mind admitting that I have got a theory now, but it's really only a theory, and I may be miles off track. I don't know." "Can't you get hold of any evidence to support it?" "None that I can think of, at least not without a search warrant, and even then almost certainly none either. I can't prove it, though I feel in my bones I'm right." "Who do you think it is?" Roger hesitated. "Well, I don't think I'll say that yet, even to you, but I'll tell you that if I published my theory in the Courier, there'd be such a shout of laughter throughout the entire country that my eardrums would immediately burst, and you, Jerry, would probably be shouting as loud as any of them. I'm afraid that at first hearing my theory might sound, to put it mildly, a trifle fantastic." But do you think you're on the right lines?" Roger got up and began to pace restlessly up and down the room. "I think so. In fact, I'm almost sure. When the idea first occurred to me only a little time ago, I nearly laughed at myself. But I've applied every conceivable test since then, and it seems to stand up to them all right. It stretches the probabilities here and there, it's true, but not into impossibilities by a long chalk. Oh, damn it, I'm certain I'm right, but I can't prove it, and I've simply got to if you're to marry Anne and bring up a family of small Jerrys." "What?" exclaimed his astonished audience. "I say, Roger, you don't think... I say, she wouldn't think of... Good Lord, do you really think she..." "Stop blethering. We're up against the stiffest proposition either of us has ever encountered, not excluding the war, and you sit there and bleat like a sheep about would she, and do I think, and does she think, and do I really think? Do I really think? My hat, I've got to really think tonight, I can tell you, and so have you, so begin at once." "Oh, hell," muttered the discomfited swain, and lapsed into silence. Roger continued to prowl. "I remember saying once that Scotland Yard's methods would never solve this case," he burst out after a minute or two, "but that French ones might. I still think I'm right about the first part, but French methods haven't proved very successful yet, have they?" "Was that a French method this afternoon?" asked Newsom, almost timidly. "As French as a haricot bean," said Roger shortly, "and if only the brute hadn't been wearing his whiskers, we'd have got him by now." "I say, I've been wanting to ask you ever since, how on earth did he get away?" "Thought he'd done the job and was going down the stairs when he heard me bounding up like a bull elephant. If I'd been in carpet slippers, I'd have run straight into him. As it was, all he had to do was to step aside, into a bathroom or anywhere, wait for me to pass, and then walk calmly out." "And you knew something was up because the 10 minutes bell didn't ring? By Jove, it was lucky that was arranged." "Partly. I was just going on that account when suddenly the alarm signal went off. The fellow must actually have stepped on it himself, of all ironical things. Thank heaven for that, at any rate. Anne might have been dead now if he hadn't. The luckiest accident." "My hat," Newsom breathed. "But I say, it's funny that, isn't it? I thought the idea was that he found out about the arrangements and wanted to eliminate Anne in spite of them. He evidently hadn't found out that one." "So it would seem," Roger said absently. "Oh, Jerry, my excellent but thick-skulled Jerry, isn't there anything you can suggest? We've got about 18 hours to get this creature, and it would take me about 18 weeks to collect enough evidence to prove my case in the orthodox way, even assuming I could do so at all, which I very much doubt. Because we've got to remember that this fellow is just about as cunning a maniac as there's ever been." "Any other sort of French method?" "A trap," Roger mused. "We ought to set a trap for him. If he can't be found out, he must be made to give himself away." "How?" They debated this matter in silence. Suddenly Roger halted in his stride. "Supposing," he said slowly, "supposing we staged, Could it be done? Good Lord, I do believe it could. It's a horrible risk, but really... Well, it all depends on Anne. I must... Oh, yes, I think that might work. It's our only possible chance, anyway." "What, Roger?" Newsom asked, bulging with curiosity. "Another leaf from the French notebook. Look here, run along and ask Anne to come in here, Jerry, will you? And then stop in the other room and make charming conversation to Moira. Everything depends on what Anne's got to say." "But what is the idea, man?" "I'll tell you when I've talked to Anne. Quick, Jerry, I'm simply bursting with excitement." "Roger, you are the most irritating devil," grumbled Mr. Newsom, but went. In a moment Anne arrived. Roger, sitting on the edge of the table, contemplated her with professional rather than human interest. Yet the human interest she might have been expected to arouse was quite strong. "You wanted me, Roger?" she said. "Yes. How are you feeling now, Anne? Pretty well recovered?" "Oh, yes, thank you. My head still aches a bit, and my throat is a little sore, but otherwise I'm quite recovered." "I wonder what you'll be feeling like tomorrow morning," Roger said. "Perfectly all right, I should imagine. Why?" Roger got up and conducted her with ceremony to a chair. "Sit down, Anne. We've got to hold very serious converse. I want you to realize this first of all. As long as this man is at liberty and unsuspected, your life, to put it frankly, isn't worth fourpence. In fact, I put it at a halfpenny to Jerry just now." "Oh," said Anne, wide-eyed. "Moreover, if he isn't laid by the heels actually by midday tomorrow, your Jerry will be arrested, and I can tell you that once a suspect is arrested, it's no easy matter to get him released." Anne nodded. "Yes?" "Well, it seems to me that it's up to us to get him before it's too late. You and I, Anne, we're the only ones who can do it, and neither of us can do it without the other. Most of all, I can't do it without you." "No," Roger corrected himself, "that's not true. I could with Moira, I suppose, but we'll talk about that later." "Oh, you've got a plan, Roger?" "I have, my child, a perfect brute of a plan. I hate and loathe my plan, but I'm blessed if I can see another, and it ought, with any luck at all, to work. But before I tell it you, I want to make this clear. If this man remains at liberty, not only you but dozens of other girls are in deadly danger. You realize that?" "Yes." "Well, I want to ask you this question. In order to provide me with a chance, and it's only a chance, mind, of catching the beast, are you prepared to risk your life?" "Yes, Roger. I don't mean a slight risk. I mean a really dangerous risk, with the chances possibly balanced against you. I shall take every possible precaution, naturally, but there aren't many I can take. You must realize that first of all." "Roger," Anne said earnestly, "at present I've only got one aim before me. I've left home to achieve it. I've planted myself in a new world which I really don't like at all. I display myself every night in public in the minimum amount of clothing the censor will allow, which I simply detest, and all to gain my object, the discovery of my sister's murderer. Of course, I'll take any risk you like." "Anne," said Roger fervently, "I am about to kiss you." And he did so. "So now," said the blushing Anne, having been duly kissed, "perhaps you'll tell me what this plan of yours is." Roger did so, but this time he was careful not to mention his supposed identification of the murderer. It was an important part of his plan that Anne should be in ignorance of who her attacker had been. If Roger shared his suspicions with her, she could hardly avoid the infinitesimal gesture or glance that would put him on his guard, and the whole point of Roger's plot was surprise. Anne listened intently. "Why," she said when he had finished, "there's no danger in that." "You think so?" said Roger grimly. "And supposing I didn't rescue you in time, or there was a struggle, or anything unforeseen happened?" "I shall be quite content," said Anne, "to trust myself entirely to you, Roger." "You darling," said Roger, "but you realize that it's going to be quite damnable uncomfortable, to put it at the very least. I may have to leave you till you've actually lost consciousness, if the psychological moment doesn't arrive before, you know." "Oh, it'll be horrible, of course," Anne said, with a prim little smile. "I shall simply hate it at the time, and probably I shall be quite unnecessarily frightened as well. But none of that matters. If you think there's a good chance of catching him in this way, then you can do just what you like with me. Besides," she added in a lower tone, "just think of all the other lives I may be able to save through a few minutes' discomfort." They discussed the details for some time, and then Anne was ordered off to bed. Moira, who was far too excited by all these stirring events to remember her carefully acquired refinement, and had been in consequence a much more amusing companion than ever before, was summoned from the sitting-room and given strict injunctions that Anne was to be got to sleep at once and caused to sleep all night long. "Like hell she shall," affirmed Sally Briggs, late Moira Carruthers, "if I have to sit up all night singing at her." As soon as the two men were left alone, Roger fulfilled his promise and told Newsom of his intentions. He had expected Jerry to be difficult, and Jerry was difficult. Very difficult indeed. He had many things to say, and he said them all. Finally, Roger took a peremptory line. "Very well, Jerry," he said. "If that's your attitude, you can't be present. This thing's going through. Anne said so, and it's her responsibility, not yours. I was going to ask you to take on the responsibility of rescuing her when I give the word, but if I can't trust you to sit still through it all, however horrible and dangerous it seems to you, until I do give the word, why, then I simply won't have you present at all. I'll stage it the day after tomorrow instead, when you're safe in jail." After which, of course, Mr. Newsom could put up no further fight. "And now," said Roger, "I've got just a little telephoning to do." End of chapter 23.